Hey everybody, Pastor Vern with the daily update for September 3rd, 2020. After missing a couple days, sorry about that. Life got in the way and just didn't get them taken care of. But we're gonna pick back up here with our books of the Bible. We're gonna talk about First and Second Corinthians the next couple days. Um, they are some of the first epistles that we talk about, written by Paul to the churches. They were letters written to the church in Corinth. Corinth was a little bit of an outlaw community when it come to the church. Um, they were quite a progressive, advanced town in the area where they were located. They had a lot of history of different kinds of gods and different kinds of relationships with gods, both pagan and some with the living God through some of the Hebrew folks that lived in that area. Even though there wasn't a tremendous amount, this is mostly a letter to the Gentiles going forward to those groups. The teachers had left Jerusalem to go to Corinth, and they have didn't agree on exactly on uh, the doctrine, the philosophy, the teachings of Christ, and the church had broke into a couple pieces, and partly because of the disparity in the teaching, and the other part is because sometimes the folks wanted to bend Christianity to fit their definition. They were kind of a low spiritual area. It's kind of interesting that Paul's first letters, or Paul's most dramatic letters anyway, are written to churches with low spiritual thresholds. I mean, they were there, they were trying to worship, they were trying to do some things, but they were also wanting to do it on their on their level, or on their within their ideals of what they could bend Christianity to be. It's not an uncommon theme. We see it all through the history of Christianity. I truly feel we're seeing a large reinsurgence in that kind of a thinking. So Paul starts to send these letters over to the Corinthians, and in the first letter to the Corinthians, um, he talks mostly about Christian living and how that is supposed to be. It can be broke down into a couple parts. It's a report to Paul on the disorders of the church. Isn't that interesting? The disorders of the church. And the second one is Paul's answer. It's kind of interesting to see and hear that part of their problem was they were not using Christ as the foundation, even though they were calling themselves Christian churches. They had not recognized, they were recognized Jesus as Lord, but they were not servants. They were trying to use background from other faiths, background from other scenarios in order to bend Christianity to fit what they would like to see it be. They were trying to take the teachings of Jesus and liberalize them to the place where, yeah, they're kind of all right, but if we'd rather do this, so it's still okay. Uh, and so they did a lot of the letters to Paul first outlines the difficulty that they're running into in Corinth for the as a group of people trying to worship together that split the church. And then Paul starts to pull them back together with corrective teaching. Um, what Paul does is basically take the words of Christ and put some emphasis on the parts that are lacking in the Corinth church. This was a community who had a very self-determined liberal tent to it to start with. So Christianity came into that experience with a lot of work to do, because it was a society that was about if it feels good, do it. And of course, Jesus taught us um, that there's nothing wrong with having a joyful life and enjoying and experience life, but we are to be servants of the living God, and in that respect, there are certain things that are that can bring us joy for eternity, and things that can bring us joy for the moment, and they're not always the same things. So Paul, he had a good deal of headaches dealing with this church. Uh, he really tries to make this first epistle or this first letter to the Corinthians a very holy writing so that they get the idea of the sanctity and the respect and the moral influences that Christianity should have on their society. That's kind of your basics on the First Corinthians. It's a book that's a little hard to read because of how strongly Paul talks about some of the issues, but yet we also find something in it that we hear all the time in First Corinthians, out of First Corinthians, and we use it for weddings. It's about what love is, and that it's kind and it's generous and it's not boastful, it's not selfish. And so we get one of those great passages that we use in weddings, other places, from the teachings of Paul that went to a church that was losing its way. All right. Well, that's kind of what we're going to wrap up for today. Y'all take good care of yourselves. Watch out for the others best you can and stay safe. See you later.